Something strange is happening in our solar system right now, and almost no one is talking about it in the mainstream media. An object that does not belong here, an interstellar visitor older than our planets, is behaving in ways we have never observed before. As it gets closer to Earth, it is changing color, emitting unexpected radiation, releasing molecules linked to the origin, music, of life, and moving as if it were responding to forces we still do not fully understand. Scientists are puzzled. Observers are divided, and a growing number of anomalies are stacking up one after another like pieces of a puzzle that refuses to fit. Tonight we're going to walk step by step through what 3E Atlas is doing, why it is so unusual, and why its approach to Earth may be the most music-important interstellar event humanity has ever witnessed. Stay with me until the end, because the final implications of this object, music, are far more unsettling than they first appear. The story truly begins with the images because until recently 3E Atlas looked like just another music-faint object drifting silently through space. But as it approached its music maximum proximity to Earth, something extraordinary happened. Telescopes around the world and in orbit began capturing details that no one was expecting. A bright green halo suddenly appeared around the object, a color signature linked to diatomic carbon, something rarely seen at this intensity. Even more shocking was the tail. Instead of flowing away from the sun like a normal comet, it pointed toward it, forming what scientists call an anti-tail. A phenomenon so rare that many initially thought it had to be an optical illusion. But it wasn't. This structure appeared consistently across multiple observatories from Gemini and Hawaii to space-based telescopes, and it remained stable for weeks. Then came the X-ray detections. Space observatories recorded X-ray emissions extending, music, hundreds of thousands of kilometers from the nucleus, produced by the interaction between the solar wind and the object's gaseous envelope. This was the first time X-rays had ever been clearly music detected from an interstellar object, instantly placing 3E Atlas in a category of its own. As the visual anomalies piled up, scientists, music, turned to spectroscopy, hoping chemistry would provide a more conventional explanation. Music, instead, it made everything even stranger. 3I Atlas was found to be releasing methanol and hydrogen cyanide continuously. Music, two molecules considered essential in prebiotic chemistry and often linked to the early building blocks, music of life. What truly alarmed researchers was not just their presence, but their abundance. The proportions were unlike anything seen in comets from our own solar system, suggesting chemical processes that do not fit known models. Even more unsettling was what was missing. Water vapor, the defining feature of most comets, was almost entirely absent. Less than 1% music was detected. This completely defies expectations because comets' music are supposed to be dirty snowballs dominated by water ice. Here we are looking at an object that is chemically active, rich in complex organics, poor in music, water, and active at distances from the sun where normal comets would be frozen and inert. It is as if 3 Atlas formed in an environment fundamentally music different from anything we know. Then came the behavior that truly made scientists uneasy. 3 Atlas does not move like a passive object. Careful tracking revealed a subtle but persistent non-gravitational acceleration. Music, meaning its trajectory, cannot be explained by gravity alone. In simple terms, something is pushing it. The usual explanation would be jets of gas erupting from the surface, but this object behaves differently. Multiple jets appear to be oriented toward the sun, feeding the anti-tail, rather than being pushed away from it. Even more puzzling, these jets maintain precise alignments despite the object rotating chaotically. Imagine a spinning firework that somehow keeps shooting lasers in the music same exact directions. That is what the data suggests. On top of this, its trajectory, music, is statistically improbable. It follows a retrograde path aligned with the plane of the planets passing close to Venus, Earth, and Mars, as if it were threading a cosmic needle. The odds of this happening, music, naturally are astronomically low, raising uncomfortable questions about whether this path is purely music coincidental, or the result of some deeper physical mechanism we do not yet understand? As 3E Atlas approaches, music, its closest point to Earth, the stakes become even higher. Its brightness has shown pulsating variations on a roughly 16-hour music cycle, not originating from the nucleus itself, but from periodic gas emissions inflating the coma. This rhythmic behavior suggests an internal structure with localized active regions, almost like vents turning on and off as the object rotates. Its path also brings it dangerously music close to Jupiter's sphere of gravitational influence, a region where even a tiny non-gravitational push could drastically alter its future trajectory. Some studies have proposed that music, the persistent anti-tail, may not be gas at all, but a swarm of trailing fragments or many objects moving independently behind it. Whether these are ice fragments or something else remains unknown. What is clear is that 3 music Atlas is not just passing through. It is interacting, emitting, accelerating, and leaving behind chemical, music, traces that could seed other worlds. As this interstellar visitor reaches its closest approach, humanity finds itself in a music, rare position, watching something truly alien in real time, knowing that whatever it is, it does not behave like anything we have seen before. One of the most disturbing behaviors of 3E Atlas is how its brightness and color behave as it approaches the sun. During perihelion, the object did not simply get brighter. It changed color dramatically. Observations revealed a shift from red tones to music, an intense green glow driven by the activation of carbon-based molecules. That alone would already be unusual. But what truly shocked scientists was the music way this brightness behaved over time. Instead of stabilizing, the light output showed rhythmic pulsations repeating roughly every 16 hours. This pattern does not come from the nucleus itself, but from periodic emissions that inflate the coma like a breathing organism. In normal comets, brightness changes are chaotic and tied to solar heating. Here, the regularity suggests internal regions activating in sequence, almost as if specific areas of the object respond differently to solar exposure. It is the difference between a campfire randomly flaring and a lighthouse. Music, rotating with mechanical precision. Nature can be messy, but this kind of consistency, music, forces scientists to admit that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Another layer of the mystery comes from how 3 Atlas reflects light. Measurements show an extreme level of linear polarization exceeding 30%. This is not a trivial detail. Polarization at this level implies a surface that is unusually smooth, possibly metallic, or at least composed of materials unlike the porous, icy dust we associate with comets. Think of the difference between light reflecting off fresh snow versus a polished sheet of metal. The signal from 3 Atlas behaves much closer to the second scenario. What makes this even stranger is that this polarization remains strong across multiple observations taken months apart, meaning it is not a temporary effect. This raises uncomfortable music possibilities. Either the object's surface has been heavily processed by interstellar radiation over immense time scales, music, or its composition includes materials rarely, if ever, found in natural solar music system bodies. Either explanation pushes the limits of what current comet models can explain. When astronomers mapped the full trajectory of 3 Atlas music, the statistics alone were enough to raise eyebrows. The object follows a retrograde path that aligns music closely with the plane of the planets passing near Venus, Earth, and Mars in music sequence. The probability of such an alignment occurring randomly is staggeringly low. This is not just a fast-moving interstellar rock clipping the edge of the system. It is an object threading through the inner solar system with uncanny precision. Even more intriguing is how its closest approach to the sun coincides with specific planetary alignments, while its low intrinsic music brightness kept it hidden from Earth-based telescopes until space observatories stepped in. It is almost as if the object arrived optimized to avoid early detection. Scientists are extremely cautious here, but the language used in several analyses hints at a growing discomfort. When trajectories start looking optimized, music, rather than accidental physics alone, no longer feels like a complete answer. Perhaps the most unsettling hypothesis emerging, music, from recent studies involves what follows 3 atlas rather than the object itself. Detailed observations suggest music, that the persistent anti-tail may not be a simple gas phenomenon. Instead, it could represent music, a swarm of trailing fragments, or even multiple independent mini-objects moving behind the main body with their own trajectories. These detections are subtle music, but they appear consistently across multiple data sets. If confirmed, this would mean 3 Atlas is not a lone traveler, but the leader of a loosely connected formation. Music, whether these trailing objects are ice fragments released through internal music processes or something far more complex, remains unknown. What is undeniable is that this behavior has never been clearly documented in an interstellar object before. Combined with its chemistry, motion, and structure, music, it paints a picture that feels less like a simple comet and more like a system in motion interacting with its environment as it passes through a cosmic neighborhood. One of the most overlooked aspects of 3 Atlas is also one of the most disturbing. Space-based observatories detected X-ray emissions extending up to hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the object. X-rays are not something you casually associate with comets, especially not with interstellar ones. These emissions are produced when the solar wind collides with a dense and active coma. But the scale here is unprecedented. The emission region is vast, structured and persistent, suggesting a level of interaction far beyond what we normally see. Even more striking is the fact that this marks the first confirmed detection of X-rays coming from an interstellar object. That alone forces scientists, to rethink how such objects behave when entering a foreign stellar environment. It is as if 3 Atlas is not merely passing through the solar wind, but actively engaging with it, responding to it, and reshaping the space around it in a way no previous visitor ever has. Another anomaly that refuses to fit into existing models is the sustained activity of 3 Atlas at large distances from the Sun. Most comets require significant solar heating to become active. Yet this object remained chemically and dynamically alive far earlier than expected. Long before reaching its closest approach, it was already releasing gases, forming a coma, and displaying structural features normally reserved for much later stages. This challenges a fundamental assumption in comet science. Activity at these distances implies either an internal heat source, extremely volatile materials, or processes we have never documented before. Think of it like an engine running smoothly in the vacuum of space without fuel. Nature does not usually waste energy like this. The persistence of activity suggests that whatever powers 3 Atlas is deeply embedded within it, operating independently of external solar input. As scientists piece together the chemical profile of 3 Atlas, a broader implication began to emerge. The object is not just releasing random gases. It is carrying and dispersing molecules directly linked to prebiotic chemistry, including methanol and hydrogen cyanide, in unusually high concentrations. This raises profound questions about panspermia, the idea that the building blocks of life can be distributed across the galaxy by wandering objects like this one. The trajectory of 3 Atlas brings it near multiple planetary bodies, meaning it could theoretically seed environments far beyond Earth. In this sense, it behaves less like a passive rock and more like a courier carrying complex chemistry, from another star system into ours. If such objects are common, then the ingredients for life, may be far more widespread than we ever imagined, drifting silently between the stars until conditions are right. Looking ahead, one of the most critical moments in the journey of 3 Atlas lies in its encounter with Jupiter's sphere of gravitational influence, known as the Hill radius. Passing through this region, is statistically improbable on its own. But what makes it extraordinary is how precisely the object's trajectory, music, grazes this boundary. A tiny non-gravitational push at this point could dramatically alter its future path, either ejecting it from the solar system or redirecting music it deeper inside. Some researchers have quietly pointed out that this kind of interaction resembles a gravitational assist, a technique humans use deliberately to steer music spacecraft. While no one is claiming intent, the geometry alone is unsettling. Nature can produce strange coincidences, but when too many align at once, the line between chance and mechanism begins to blur. What happens when 3 Atlas crosses music? This invisible threshold may ultimately determine whether it remains a brief visitor or becomes something, music, far more consequential. One of the most controversial aspects surrounding 3 Atlas is its apparent spatial coincidence, music, with one of the most famous unresolved mysteries in astronomy, the WOW signal of 1977. When astronomers traced the incoming direction of 3 Atlas, they realized it aligns within a narrow margin of error with the same region of the sky where that enigmatic radio burst was detected decades ago. Statistically, this overlap is unlikely but not impossible, which places scientists in an uncomfortable position. On one hand, coincidence is a familiar companion in astronomy. On the other, the spectral characteristics, music, and directional consistency raise eyebrows. It is like finding a message in a music bottle drifting ashore at the exact beach where another unexplained message was found years earlier. Alone, each event might be dismissed. Together, they begin to form a narrative that refuses music to be ignored, especially when the probability margins are laid out on paper. Another detail that deepens the music mystery is the physical shape and surface evolution of 3 Atlas. Observations suggest a teardrop-like structure, not the irregular rubble piles we commonly associate with comets. This shape, combined with its extreme polarization signatures, music, implies a surface that has been processed for immense periods of time outside any stellar music system. In interstellar space, objects are bombarded by cosmic radiation and micro-impacts for millions, possibly billions of years. Over such time scales, surfaces evolve in ways we are only beginning to understand. The skin of 3 Atlas may music be less like rock and ice and more like a hardened shell altered layer by the harshest environment imaginable. It is the difference, music, between a pebble in a river and a stone sandblasted by eternity itself. Whatever shaped this object, it did not happen quickly, and it did not happen here. One of the strangest mechanical music behaviors of 3 Atlas lies in how its jets behave relative to its rotation. Despite evidence that the object spins in a chaotic manner, the gas jets maintain music stable orientations in 4 or 5 distinct directions. In natural music systems, rotation tends to smear out directional emissions. Yet here the structure remains surprisingly coherent. This suggests internal channels or vents that are not randomly distributed, but structurally music constrained. Imagine a spinning sprinkler that somehow keeps spraying water in fixed directions regardless of how it turns. That is the level of inconsistency scientists are grappling with. Whether this points to unusual internal layering, asymmetric composition, or something entirely unknown, it clearly falls outside music, the behavior of ordinary cometary physics. By this point, it becomes increasingly difficult music to describe 3 Atlas using familiar labels. It is not behaving like a classic comet, not like an asteroid, and not like any interstellar object previously observed. Its size, velocity, chemistry, music, surface properties, and trajectory all push against the boundaries of established models. Each anomaly alone could be explained away with creative physics, but together they form a pattern, music, that feels systematic rather than random. 3 Atlas is forcing astronomers to confront a difficult reality. Our classification systems may be incomplete. Just as the first exoplanets shattered assumptions about planetary systems, this object may be doing the same for interstellar visitors. It is not just an object passing through our neighborhood. It It is a stress test for everything we think we know about how the universe works. When you step back and look at the full picture, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. 3E Atlas is not strange because of a single anomaly. It is strange because every layer you peel back reveals something that does not belong. Its chemistry does not match known comets. Its motion cannot be explained by gravity alone. Its surface reflects light like something forged rather than eroded. Its jets behave with a precision that defies chaotic rotation. Its trajectory, music, looks less accidental and more optimized. And its timing, its alignment, and its behavior as it approaches Earth all feel uncomfortably deliberate. This does not mean we are looking at something artificial. Science demands caution, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But it does mean something equally important. It means our current models are incomplete. It means interstellar space is not a quiet graveyard of frozen debris, but a dynamic environment capable of producing objects, music, far more complex than we ever imagined. 3E Atlas may be a messenger from a region of the galaxy we do not yet understand, carrying chemistry, structure, and behavior shaped by processes, music, that never occur inside a stable solar system. Think of it like this. For most of human history, we believed the oceans were empty beyond the horizon. Then ships returned with creatures, currents, and maps that rewrote geography forever. 3E Atlas is that ship. It is crossing a cosmic ocean, briefly passing through our waters, and leaving behind questions that will not fade when it is gone. Whether it turns out to be an extreme, natural, music object, or something that forces a deeper rethink of cosmic evolution, one thing is certain. After 3E Atlas, we will never look at interstellar visitors the same way again. If you want a music, stay ahead of this story. If you want real updates, real analysis, and the full picture as new data comes in, make sure you are subscribed. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Music, because this is one of those moments where collective curiosity matters. And above all, keep watching the skies. Sometimes the universe whispers, and sometimes it sends something straight through our neighborhood to make sure we are paying attention. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.